Well, hello, Bill.
Hi, Don.
How are you today?
Been fine. It's been a great day at the store today. Really busy.
It's been a great day. Hello, Buster. How are you?
I'm doing well, trying to stay dry, but other than that, just hanging in there, Don.
It's been a good day. We've managed to dodge the rain and stay dry, so it's been awesome. Beautiful day in the valley. We are rolling into fall time. It's the leaves are beginning to turn and beginning to fall already. A little early this year, it seems like to me, but I guess the dry spell that we've had has affected that. But it won't be long till we have thousands and millions of visitors coming to look at the leaves turn. So busy time in North Georgia is about to be with us.
Well, speaking of the fall, I got a chance to see in our new video intro that your Indian corn is finally harvesting.
Yes, it's matured and ready to pick, but it hasn't turned the colors that we are expecting. We think that's going to come about in the drying process. This is an experiment, so we really don't know exactly what we're doing, but we're having fun in the process. We had several rows of Native American corn, or Indian corn as we call it, and also some popcorn. So we're looking forward to harvesting that in another 30 days or so and seeing what we get out of it.
Fantastic. Bill, any interesting customers in the store today?
We really have. Every week we have a lot of customers. We had several surgeons this week. I don't know why we had surgeons in the store. Maybe
Did they have anything interesting
kind of
to
scared
talk
me
about?
a little bit to think about it. What are you here for? But anyway, had a great time. We had one a few minutes ago, and then had a lot of. This has been a lot of Carolina Day. North and South Carolina have been filling the store today. I don't know why, particularly. I mean, we always have guests from those two states. Usually, the overwhelming majority are from Florida, and we've had Floridians, of course, many other states as well. But we've had a lot of North Carolina and South Carolina people today. Just had a great time. A lot of laughter, a lot of fun things, and a lot of cider tasting. Matter of fact, it was funny. I said about the Carolinas, we had a busload of folks from Tennessee this morning, and they were all lining up to have apple cider and peach cider and muscadine, and I was pouring to the point that the mat that I had on the table was saturated with. I mean, I had to clean all that mess up. I mean, just pouring like a wild barkeep or something. Me pouring that fresh cider, but I guess they enjoyed it. So that was the big thing. But it was kind of crazy there for a while because in addition to those people, we had two big families come in at the same time. So we must have had 60, 70 people in the store at that given time.
Oh, Lord.
And so there's a lot of people. We have a lot of people. Usually not that many at one time. So it was a little crazy, but it was a lot of fun. A lot of laughter, a lot of kidding and getting up, just carrying on a little bit. But it was a lot of fun today. It's always fun at Old Sautee Show.
That's your safe space, just holding court.
It is. I love that front of the store. People ask me questions. I said, listen, I don't know anything past that doorway. I know what's outside and I know what's inside the old part of the store. Past that, I'm in trouble. So don't ask me. I'll point you in the right direction to somebody who does know. But I know my part, and I thoroughly enjoyed up there.
Well, nothing wrong with that. Speaking of pouring drinks, Don, Oktoberfest started in Helen last weekend.
Sure did. Along with the leaf season that we mentioned earlier, a lot of people come to the area for Oktoberfest, and we're in full swing right now. So.
Well, you grew up in the area. I'm sure you've had to venture up to Helen at some point to get involved in the celebrations and festivities.
I've been
anything clean enough to tell on the show?
I've been to Oktoberfest many times. I remember one time volunteering for one of the civic clubs to help with Oktoberfest, and by the time I got through cleaning up and dealing with the folks after they'd had probably way too much beer to drink, I decided that was not my cup of tea to work there. I'll go back as a customer, but there was a lot of folks in there that night, and it got kind of wild.
A little crazy, huh?
You get a little crazy.
What about you, Bill? Have you ever gone up there and sang some of those Edelweiss songs?
No, I've gone up there and listened to a lot. I was just thinking as Don was speaking, there's a lot of good music going on up there. a lot of guys out in the on the street playing, and yeah, there's a lot of good music going on all the time. Matter of fact, it makes me think sometimes if you walk down Nashville, Tennessee, you're hearing different bands playing all the time as you walk on it. That's kind of the way it gets sometimes at Oktoberfest. I've been there a lot, but I've been there several times. I'll probably get up there before the month's out. I'm sure I'll get up there.
Fantastic.
I probably won't taste too much of the nectar, but I'll probably have some.
Will you have you a hat and lederhosen on?
Probably not. However, I'm sure customers will come in with that on. They did last year. We had people coming in and grown men in their lederhosen and their, what did they call those hats? Anyway, whatever they are, alpine hats of some sort, you know.
I'm not sure what they call it, but I have one floating around in the back of my closet, and it's maybe the one hat that I've ever found that could actually fit my big giant melon head.
I see what you're saying. Well, but anyway, it is a lot of fun. Again, if you go there with that in mind and don't get in a hurry, you'll have a blast.
Well,
And I hope
you
folks
can't
will join
get in
us.
a hurry. The traffic's terrible.
No, and then when you get done there, or maybe before, come to the store for a sandwich or something here at the Sautee store, and then make your way over to the Oktoberfest.
Yes, yes. Well, today we have a special guest with us. He sells his knives up here at the Old Sautee store. Mr. Warren Glover of Bubba Knives is joining us today on the program. Warren, thank you.
Well, thank you for having me. Glad to be here.
Well,
You know, we were talking earlier, my first memory of Warren, because I've lived around here all my life as well, was at the Loudsville camp meeting. It's in August every year, and it's
July.
August, right? July, end of July. And a lot of folks come from great distances and some local to the camp meeting. It's a week-long service. And Warren, tell us a little bit about camp meeting.
Well, our camp meeting, Loudsville camp meeting, is about 170 years old. Been doing it that long. We're under a third arbor, and the arbor is the tabernacle we meet under. And then the cabins around there that we stay in are called tents. Because the original camp meetings years ago, people came when the crops was laid by. They had some time before harvest, came up there to have revival. And they'd bring tents up there and set the tents up, bring their cows, milk their cows there, and stay in a wagon, or set up tents. So that's why to this day they're still called tents. And we have, I guess, about 60 tents, cabins there now. We have services twice a day. We have some great music, like Bill. We get Bill up there.
this is another spot he plays
That's
at.
another spot. I've had him there both as a singer and as a song leader, so we've had him up there. But it's just an amazing experience. If you've never been to one, and we're not the only one. There's 4 campgrounds in White County, but I think ours is the best. But anyway, if you get a chance, come to see us. It's the Monday after the second Sunday in July. When it starts.
It's up at Loudsville,
That's in
correct?
Loudsville.
My first experience when they asked me to come up and sing over a number of years ago, meet me at the tent, my tent. I walked all over the stinking ground. I couldn't find a tent in the place. I mean, there wasn't a tent anywhere. It finally dawned on me. I believe that's what they're calling their cabins.
Oh.
I mean, I just couldn't figured it out. But anyway, it's a lot of fun. And again, it's all about fun. The Lord's honored in these things, but there's a lot of family fellowship. Folks come together. Wonderful things for children. Got a great children's choir group always sings every night, and I get to sing sometimes. And we always have a choir. Have some outstanding instrumentalists. Matter of fact, Debbie and Joe that have been here playing for us they'll play out at Loudsville. And I like the way Loudsville's set up. It's just really a nice, all the cabins right around the tabernacle. It's always well maintained. It's just a very nice place. And it's a lot of fun to be a part of that. And like I say, I feel like the Lord's honored in that place.
Well, the second thing about Warren, and I guess the thing we're really excited about hearing today from him, is he is an exquisite knife maker. He makes custom knives, and he sells them other places too, but we have them here at the store. And Warren, we're just really anxious to hear about the knife making, how you got about to doing that, and what your experiences have been.
I'll be glad to tell you, and if I get too long, stop me, because I could talk for a long time about knife making. But I always liked knives growing up as a kid. Bought knives, destroyed knives, throwing them. But later on, I was looking for a hobby, and I went to a gun show. And here was a knife maker. I looked at what he'd made, and I said, that is what I want to do for a hobby. So I started buying books and calling everybody I think would tell me anything, and got me a few old grinders and started making. I started in 1995.
Wow.
Sold my first knife in 95. It's been almost 30 years since I started. And I think I put everything back into it to buy more equipment, get better equipment. To the date, I've sold over 6,000 knives that I've made.
Impressive.
And I tell people that I've sold $1 million worth of knives, and that's probably true. The only problem is it costs $2 million to make them. So that's,
You need a bigger truck.
I need a bigger truck. But I make knives for all over. I make all types of knives. I make kitchen knives, hunting and skinning knives. I make pocket knives. If you can show me a picture or give me your design, for the most part, I can make it. Some things get beyond my abilities, but I'll let you know if it do. But I take orders. Best Buy, if you want to buy one, come see Don, because he's got some of everything I make. You'll probably get one now, and it may take me 6 months to make you one. But I stay pretty busy with it. I've done shows far away as Las Vegas, most everywhere in the Southeast. Use all kind of handle materials. I always say if it will lay flat, I can put it on a knife. But I've used ivory, I've used mammoth ivory, I've used all kind of horns and bone. I've used armadillo shell, woolly mammoth molar teeth. It's real pretty. It's a little funny to work with, but use teeth. I have used dinosaur bones. I can't think of much that I haven't tried. Anybody comes up with it, I can usually find it if they want that particular thing. If I can't get it, I can't get it. But it's been a blessing. I met a lot of people, had a good time. Gave me the opportunity to go to different places just to do shows with places I wouldn't have got to go to begin with. It's a good job. It's a good career, and there's quite a few people making a good living at it. But that's not me.
Well, on that note, you mentioned you sold your first knife in 1995. How did it transition from a hobby into a profession?
It's just like a drug. You sell one, and you go buy material to do more. You do more, and you buy more equipment. You got to pay for that equipment, so you do more. And then you get your name out there, and people want your stuff. And then you go to a good show, and you pretty much sell out, and you add to it. I worked for the post office for almost 30 years, but he gave me a lot of time to work in the afternoons, and I could always get off and go to my shows. And when I was working, I would do as many as 30 craft shows a year. And now I do maybe 2. I'm just, I'm winding down some. But I used to do a lot of shows, spend a lot of time doing those. But it did go from a hobby to a job. But I knew when I retired, and I retired 16 years ago, that I'd have something to do, something to keep me busy. And that was my main objective in getting in the knife business, was have something when I retired. And then now I'm going to retire about twice a week. And my daughter keeps saying, when? Well, when I get these orders done. So it hadn't happened yet, but it's been a blessing to me.
The orders are never done, though.
Well, just think when you get caught up, you got more orders. And I did bring a couple knives today to show. This is one I made for a customer of mine, and he passed away last year. he's about 95 years old. But he bought over the years, he bought a lot of my knives. And he always put in special orders. He was a retired Marine, and this is when I made him, I don't know when I made the knives, but it's made out of mammoth ivory. It's got mosaic Damascus, which is a steel that's folded over and over again. And this is an amazing blade. I bought it from a fellow up in Michigan and made the steel. I bought steel from him. I buy it in billets and I'll grind it. But when Garvis, my friend, when he got ready to sell his knife collection, he had 90 custom knives. Called me, wanted me to buy them. Well, I did. I bought all he had, all 90 of them. But 28 of them were mine. So I bought 28 of my knives back. And then Lone Wolf, Jay Lone Wolf over here in Habersham County, he liked his knives and he had 21 of his knives. So out of those 90, 49 were our two. So except for this one, and maybe one more, I've sold off Garvis' collection. But he has some pretty high dollar stuff. He had, he had 13 knives from a maker, and the most expensive knife, and that was a $7,500 knife.
Wow. Now this knife that you've got out right now, from concept to finished product, about how long are we talking?
I spent, it's not as much as time consuming. I probably spent a week and a half on it. Getting everything together, heat treating, grinding, getting all the materials together, and getting it to him.
That is an impressive looking tool right there.
The best, and he liked my folding knives, my pocket knives, and the best pocket knives I ever made were for him. But I always knew he's gonna pick it, so if I made him one, he'd tell me what he wanted, I'd make two. Then I'd say, pick out the one you want, get the one you want. Well, what do you take for two, both of them? Never failed. Every time I made him one, I'd make two. Pocket knives, I didn't do the straight knives that way. But I've sold all those but one, and one of them is probably the best pocket knife I ever made, and I won't sell it. I carry it to Sunday. So every night I carry that knife, but I will not sell that one because I looked at it and I said, who made that one? He said, you did. I said, I can't believe I made it. But anyway, that was a fine little knife.
Heck yeah.
That finish on that blade is really fascinating.
That is amazing. It's got USA all through the blade, and that's forged in there. And it's got little fleas and stars all through it. It's just amazing.
That is
And I know how they make Damascus. I've watched them. How the guy makes this, I don't have a clue. I have a clue, but I can't explain it.
It's just layered many times.
It's just, it's that, but you got all that
Detail in it.
detail in it.
Yeah, I was at Warren's yesterday and got a load of knives to bring to the store, and I saw that one, and that's why I asked him to bring it on today, because that is amazing.
And I've got one, it's on my sign that I put up at shows, and it's got the American flag in the blade. And I had Lone Wolf to scrimshaw the flag into the handle of it. And I wish I'd never sold that one, but I knew had it, but I don't know where it is now. But that was a different, this guy's named Doug Ponzio, and he lives in Minnesota, not Michigan. Lives in Minnesota. And the other guy that did the flags, named Robert Eggerling, and he's in Pennsylvania. But they're both just masters in doing this mosaic. They call it the mosaic Damascus.
Well, what's this other knife that you have here?
And
This looks like more of a traditional.
And it is a traditional pocket knife, but it does have the Damascus steel. It's stainless Damascus. And it has the ivory handles on it. It's some ivory I bought back from a trip to Alaska and to the Yukon last year. And I bought a chunk of mammoth ivory up there and brought it back. And my friend out here, Chandler Pardon, found out I had that ivory. He said, make me a pocket knife with that ivory on there. So this one belongs to Chandler. But I do make pocket knives. It's rare when I make them because they're time consuming. And I just have to I can't do both at the same time. If I'm gonna make a pocket knife, I just have to lay these others back and get my head around a pocket knife because it's a whole different ball game. But they're still fun to make and I still enjoy them.
What was the first knife you ever owned?
Owned?
Owned, yeah. We're going
Gosh.
way back to childhood.
Probably a little cheap pocket knife that came from 10-cent store in Cleveland. I'm sure, but that, when I was growing up, I mean, when you went to first grade, they wasn't a kid in first grade or boy that didn't have a pocket knife in their pocket.
That's when I got my first pocket
I
knife.
mean, we never cut anybody, never threatened anybody. We just carried our knives. The only trouble I ever got into, I carved on the desk one day, and teacher caught me. She took it away from me and gave it back to me the other day and said, "Don't do it again." She didn't say don't bring it back. She just said don't do it again.
It's funny how times change.
But it's changed.
So, Warren, I recently took a class and actually forged a knife blade. I may have mentioned that on a previous episode of this show, but with a forge and a hammer and beat on that thing for the better part of a day until I couldn't swing the hammer anymore. But I got close to what looks like a knife, and it's got an edge on it and all, but that's not the process you use.
No, there's forging and there's stock removal. And I do stock removal. I buy bars in my stainless steel. I buy 6-foot bars of virgin knife steel. In the Damascus steel, I buy it anywhere from a foot long to 18 inches billets. It's already been forged. And all I have to do, I mean, I don't buy the blades, but I buy the billet steel. I cut them out, grind them, heat treat, temper them, and make the knife. Forging, you can take almost anything, a spring or a car spring or a bar steel, a round bar, beat it down flat, and you actually forge your knife. You beat it with a hammer when it's hot into the shape you want. I actually grind mine into the shape. I get a bar of steel, I draw a pattern on that blade. If it's a big piece of steel, I cut it out with a metal cutting bandsaw. It's going to take up the biggest part of the blade. I just take it over my grinder and just grind it out, to profile it and grind it out to shape. But that's called stock removal. You just take away everything that doesn't look like a knife.
It's easy for you to say.
But I admire the guys that do forging. They love it. They love beating hot steel.
It was
and people ask me, why don't you learn to forge? I said, I'm afraid to. I said, what are you afraid of? I said, I'm afraid I'll like it. I got more hobbies now than I know what to do with. I'm afraid I'll like forging. I'm not going to try it.
And we have forged knives in the store as well. And
yes, and I taught him how to make knives.
A young man named Jesse Crump, and I was going to say Warren taught him how to make knives.
I taught him how to make knives. His dad is a blacksmith. He taught him how to forge.
Well, on that note, if somebody was looking into getting into the hobby of knife making, what's the number one piece of advice you'd give them right off the rip?
If you're around here, come spend a few days with me. But I do teach, only one person at a time. If I teach somebody, the first knife they make is on me. Cost you nothing. If you decide you want to build some knives and learn, I'll teach you at no cost. The only thing that costs you is the materials you use. Steel, the handle material, but not the equipment, not anything else you use, just materials. But if you do get into it, the most important piece of equipment in a knife shop is a grinder. If you got a good grinder, you can buy cheap anything, but not the grinder. The grinder makes a world of difference. You got the proper piece of equipment to do that with. You can buy a cheap drill press, you can buy a cheap buffer, you can buy a cheap bandsaw, but you got to have a good grinder. But I've taught a lot of people over the years.
Bill, you want to go up there and learn how to make a knife?
Probably not today. I noticed you got, I asked you about cuts on your hands. I arranged these when the knives up there one day, and I got home that night and I had cuts all over my hands and didn't even realize how sharp these things are. But you got some raw material there. What are those?
This is some of that mammoth ivory that I brought back from Alaska.
Uh-huh.
That's the blue is the outside of the tusk and the white is the inside of the tusk. You can't legally use elephant ivory. You can if you can prove it's 100 years old and have the paperwork on it, but the burden of proof is on you. You got to be able to prove it. If you can't prove it, they can take it. game wildlife can take it and you. So, but you can use all the mammoth however you want to because it's been extinct for 10,000 years, and so far they haven't outlawed it yet.
Well, that's cool because it's beautiful. Make some gorgeous handles in there.
Yeah, it's hard for me to decide which handle I like the best. The wood's beautiful, the tusk and
The pine cone and corn cob.
pine cone and corn cob.
Those are amazing.
I don't have any corn cob now. But Don bought some pine cone yesterday that I'd used.
And
Am I hearing things correctly? You also make knives out of pine cones and corn cobs?
That's the handles. The handles.
Still.
And another thing I do in my shop is all the wood, or 99% of the wood I use is wood that I cut and process myself. And to use this plain wood, you have to, they call it stabilize it, it's pressure treat the wood. The process is cut wood that you think is going to be pretty. You got to dry it completely. I put it into a vacuum tank and cover it with heat hardening resin. I vacuum it to what it does, it just foams just like it's foaming. What it is, it's the air coming out through the resin. When all the bubbling quits, it's pulled all the air out, it's pushed that resin into the wood. Then I put it in the pressure pot and I pressure that for what didn't go in to finish it. And then you heat it and it hardens that epoxy up. And you got wood that's, even a soft wood that, excuse me, it's not much good. It's a hard wood that's almost waterproof. And it still works like wood.
But a couple of knives yesterday that we got were synthetic. They were
Yeah.
carbon fiber.
Carbon fiber, there's G10 woven fiberglass. There's a material called micarta, and it can be canvas with resins, it can be burlap, it can be linen, it can be denim. There's all kind of micarta. They just depend on what kind of base you want to put with the resins. It makes it hard, and it's unbreakable. It's hard to burn. It's probably one of the most stable materials out there.
And you think about high tech, space age kind of look. It's not. It's beautiful. It looks, doesn't look synthetic, even though it's tough as nails, tougher than nails.
We've got a couple of knives in there that are a little bit on the feminine side.
Those I make for ladies' purse knives.
Hey, they buy knives too.
Look, I've sold many knives to women as I have to men, for themselves and for their husbands or boyfriends or for gifts. But the knives that Bill's talking about, I like to go to antique stores and I find these old serving sets that you mix salads with that has ceramic handles on them, and they're all real pretty. Well, I buy them and I heat those utensils and pull them out, and I make a blade to fit back into that ceramic. Makes a pretty little knife, and they sell well. They really do well. But
Now, what are some differences between what a man's looking for in a knife and what a woman's looking for in a knife?
when I figure that out,
You'll get back to
I'll
me.
write a book on that. Huh?
I'll get back to you.
Get another career there.
I never know what's going to sell. You know. I'll make something and I say, gosh, that knife ain't going to never sell, you know. First person walks up, that's the one I want.
Well, I know that you've mentioned that you've made thousands of knives over the year, but I would take a guess and venture to say that one of them's got to be memorable. Looking back, is there something unique or a memorable knife that you've made that you just...
A lot of them are. One of the most unusual knives I made was out of a meteorite. The blade was made out of meteorite.
All right.
It's,
How do you come across a meteorite?
I was at a gun and knife show. The room next to us, they had a rock and fossil show. The guy came over there and brought some. He'd already had it forged out in pieces of meteorite. He said, "Can you make me a knife?" I said, "I guess." And it's a pretty knife. It really looks like Damascus steel, and you can't use it. There's no steel in meteorite. It's all iron. So you can't harden it. You can grind it, you can make it pretty, you can sharpen it, but if you cut something, it just won't work.
Doesn't do it.
Now you'll see a lot of people use a little bit of meteorite in their Damascus. That's a selling tool. A little in there doesn't hurt. If it's all meteorite, then
No
it's,
good.
it's not usable. But I made several for that guy. I made him one, and then he had me make maybe a half a dozen another time.
Well, just with talking to you, I'm learning that there's far less items that you can't make a knife with than.
Oh, you can make a knife out of anything. You know.
It seems like you can make one out of anything.
Anything may not be any good, but you can make a knife out of about anything.
What else do we need to know about the knife making hobby, Warren?
I don't know. It's habit forming. If you get into it, be careful. If anybody's got any questions, I'll answer any questions you can think of. But like I say, it's just been a lot of fun over the years and give me a lot of pleasure.
How about the sheaths? Do you make those?
No, sir. When I first started, I made a few sheaths, and I knew right quick, if I'm gonna sell these knives, somebody else is gonna have to do that. So, over the years, I've had 2 or 3 real good sheath makers. The guy that makes them now has been making them for quite a while. His name is Mike Wilson. He's a knife maker. He's been making knives longer than I have. He's a great knife maker, but he loves leather work, so he does all my leather work for me. Matter of fact, that's one of his sheaths there.
That is a nice piece of leather.
And you know, I guess even though they might be similar, there's no two exactly alike knives.
Of my knives,
Yes.
I'm not that good.
Well,
I mean,
but,
yeah, I'll sell steak knives, but all 8 of them is not going to be identical.
but
They'll be close, but
they're all serial numbered,
most of them.
and signed, autographed.
Well, I signed the sheath.
Sheath, yeah.
Yeah. And the number on the sheath is the knife number.
And I think you did tell me about the guarantee.
Well, I used to tell everybody they were guaranteed for my lifetime. I had to kind of back up a little bit. They're guaranteed as long as I'm able to fix them or replace them. No questions asked.
That's awesome.
You can't beat that.
I had a guy lost one time. He found his dog dug it up about a year later, and it had buffalo horn handles on it, and the insects would eat the handle off of it. I replaced it.
Well, that was very generous of you.
I mean, I'll fix or replace knives, no questions asked.
Oh, man.
Probably don't have to do much replacing though, do you?
Not much. I may have to, after a few years, I may have to sharpen one to clean it up. Or
Well, Warren, we just appreciate so much you coming on and being with us today.
Absolutely.
It's been fascinating. I've learned about 10 times more than I knew before the show. So
I'm glad I do, because the knives are in the old part of the store where I am. People ask me questions a lot, so I have a little bit more knowledge. I appreciate that a lot.
I've got a guy that lives over in Cartersville, I believe. He buys antique knife stuff. He brought me 2 buoys over 2 or 3 weeks ago. When we cleaned them up, he thought they were Civil War. And I'm not sure about one of them. One of them I'm positive it is. I've got it cleaned up enough, but it says Hodgkin & Sons Macon. And I looked them up, and they were only in business. They made guns and knives from 1858 to 1862. So I don't know if it's in the Civil War, but it's in that area. It was made in the beginning of the Civil War. So I know it. The other one, I don't know yet. I'm going to have to get somebody that knows more than me to tell me about it. Because it has no markings on it. But I love to do stuff like that. He also collects, you familiar with the Joe Brown pikes they made up here? Well, he collects those things. And he's brought me 2 or 3 of those he's bought and had me clean those up and hangs them in his office or something. But there's a lot of models of that thing, because Joe Brown, he sent the order out to anybody that worked in metals and make those things, the whole state and other states. And of course, the soldiers weren't stupid. They wouldn't use them. They threw them down. Listen, yeah, you might take somebody out and get one or two of them before they get you. And I said, I don't think so. So there was thousands of them made. But I think the ones I've seen are the original, pretty much the original. But, and I've seen the ones they got up here in the History Center.
Well, we appreciate it so much. Hope you'll come back again.
Enjoyed it.
Bill,
Thanks for having me.
As always, it's been a pleasure. Buster, thank you for your contribution to our show, and get us out of here.
I appreciate y'all having me, Don. We want to thank our guest today, Warren Glover of Bubba Knives, for joining us. For Bill Cohen and Don Allison, I'm Buster Talent. This has been the Old Sautee Show. Tell a friend about us. Goodbye.